Hello folks and welcome back to Medieval Total War. I am Conistip and this is going to be part 34 of my early campaign where I'm playing as England. And in the last episode, the Polish giant did pass away. They are gone. And with that, a quarter of the map is gone entirely rebel. So far, no one has jumped to take advantage of this. I mean, the Novgorods seem like they're too weak to do anything about it at this moment. And I think the papacy is the only one that has actually advanced into previously held Polish territories, which is surprising, I suppose, because they were fighting against the Italians for such a long time. In fact, are they still fighting the Italians? They're not. So the Italians, yeah, they did peace out with the papacy since they've been dealing with their own issues as well. So I'm curious to see what's going to develop here. Now, the papacy doesn't collect any glorious achievements points, so I'm not threatened by them advancing into this territory at all. And with that being said, I'm not really threatened by anyone, really. At this point of the campaign, it's probably pretty certain that I'm going to win this campaign. I just wanted to say that right now so that, you know, I don't want there to be any sort of fake me, what's the word? Like me trying to dramatize this campaign and be like, oh, what's going to happen next? No, I'm probably going to win. Just, you know, so if that's, you know, all you're interested in, there you go. I don't want to waste your time. But I do want to continue to learn what I can from this campaign. The reason why I like to play these long campaigns at this time of me, you know, continuing to learn about this game is because it gets me more time to collect data and to learn about these systems, like the interactions between the Inquisitors and the zeal and the piety of the governors of those regions. And so that's one thing I want to do, is to try to continue to learn about that. Now, with that being said, the Spanish might present a threat. They are advancing into the southern Levant. Currently, the rebels are kind of kicking their ass here in Sinai, but the Spanish have a whole horde of troops that are ready to push on into Sinai and rescue their beleaguered garrison. And it looks like they're about to launch a crusade as well here in Algeria. We wonder where that's going to be headed. Maybe Arabia or maybe Sinai itself. Who knows? Now, that's going to be putting themselves, you know, up against me once that does happen. We should be cool. We're Catholic. There's other non-Catholics for them to kill. If that does matter in this game, then yeah, you know, they would rather go after, you know, the Mongols here in Syria. And then from there even, you know, pushing on into the rebel territory or Byzantine territory. Anyone but me. Unless they are also kind of playing the Glorious Achievements game and they see me as the threat that I am. That might be the reason why they would attack me if it did come down to that. So we have to maintain a vigilant presence here in the Levant to deter that, you know, attack. With that being said, I have $250,000 in the treasury and I'm making, I think, 10 grand per turn. And my forces are like pretty strong. I've kept, I know that I have like 3 stacks in each province, but I've kept things like somewhat reasonable compared to my previous campaigns. When it comes to my military expenditures, it might be hard to believe, but that's true. And then same thing with my navies as well. And I'm going to continue to try to keep it that way if I can. I do want to eventually, in addition to experimenting with the Inquisitors and trying to destabilize regions using agents and stuff, in addition to that, there's another thing that I do want to experiment with that I have discussed before. It's something that I did do in my Egypt campaign once I felt secure in winning that campaign. And that is, there's something about this that's always bothered me, right? Which is having these 3 stacks in each of my frontier provinces. It just doesn't feel very authentic, you know? This feels like World War I. You would never have this many standing armies anywhere. You know, there weren't really standing armies. You had to kind of muster the armies and then go do something. And then, yeah, standing armies didn't really develop until like later, at the end of this period. So it always has felt weird, having this. That was the point of castles, was that you could defend territories with just like, a dozen guys, maybe a couple dozen guys. And you could kind of, make it so that people like, the enemy is like, all right, do I really want to attack that castle? Or if I bypass that castle, then those dozen guys that I just bypassed, they can just raid my supply train or anything like that and make life difficult for me. And so do I have to attack the castle, or can I get around it somehow? These were the decisions that had to be made, and I really have wanted to try to emulate that sort of type of experience in this game. But when it comes to the question of, all right, how do I get a good opening and win this campaign? Typically, a lot of times it's like, all right, lots of fleets, build up my trade fleets, make lots of money, build lots of forces, train lots of forces, build lots of good buildings, tech up, the meta type of video gaming that we all are familiar with. But then you end up with this, which it kind of takes you out of it. At least it takes me out of it, where I'm like, all right, this ain't real. This is a game. So in my Egypt campaign, when I felt comfortable, I was able to start to reduce my garrisons, and I wanted to make it like, the thing is that we end up never playing, or at least I never end up playing, defensive siege battles, because I don't lose defensive battles. And then if I do, I take back my territories like the next turn, like the very next turn, right? And therefore, I never end up in a situation where I have to fight these defensive siege battles, and it's kind of a bummer, It'd be kind of cool to have to do that. The thing is, though, is that the risk is so high. If a other faction takes my territory, and I'm in the process of building something, then that entire process, the progress of that building gets lost, and the cost that I have sunk into the building of that building has been lost. Now, that's not so important right now when I'm super rich and I have a lot of time left, but those are decisions that, like, you can't, man, if you have a building interrupted or canceled in the early part of the campaign when things are still kind of on the knife's edge of you winning or losing, you can't really play around with that. You gotta, make these things count. And so it's hard. It's hard to think, hey, I'll just have a light border and play it realistically. It's really difficult to do. I've been practicing my my French campaign, which is the campaign I'll be playing next. Spoilers alert! Spoilers. And it's so hard. I've been trying to practice an opening for the French campaign where I keep meager minor garrisons and just play diplomatically. And yeah, I've been inspired by Count MRVHS and his play style to try to do something similar to that, but with less chaos and more order. I don't know how he manages to pull off his play style, because I've tried. I've put so many hours into trying to figure out a French opening that works that way, but then also succeeds in accomplishing its goals and taking its Crusade territories. And I'm just back to doing things the way that I'm doing it, like I'm used to doing it, because I can't figure it out. I tried so many different ways, and I don't want to talk your ears off in all the different ways I tried to do that with my French campaign, but it was impossible. I tried so many different styles of doing the small garrisons, like in the early part of the game, and there was a certain amount of promise. There was. It did seem to it seemed to really lessen the amount of stacks that neighboring factions have on your borders, like this, the 3 stacks right here, or earlier we saw my Italian allies with their stacks in Toulouse. It does lessen that, which is perfect. I want that. I want to lessen that. But still, I had allies. I'm looking at you, Aragon. Allies, factions that I was able to ally with, I take advantage of that. And yeah, then you're kind of screwed. So it's tough. It's so tough. It's so tough. And then even with trying to play around with this play style in this part of the in the part of the campaign where you're comfortable and rich and powerful, it's still kind of tricky, and here's why. It's hard to know how many forces to have inside of your defensive structures. The thing is that they can hold more men as they grow, which makes sense, right? So 600 infantry or 300 cavalry. So it's always half as many cavalry as infantry. They always count for 2 because you're feeding the horse and the human for the cavalry. So that's a castle, right? That's no defensive upgrades. I don't think the defensive upgrades increase the amount of people or animals that you can keep inside. I don't think they do. I think they just provide battlefield, bonuses, right? That's my understanding of that. If we look here, castle, same. Is there no... Yeah, we never built any defensive structures here. What about here? Do we have anything? So we have the catapult towers here. And so yeah, that doesn't change anything. It's still 600 infantry, 300 cav. Even though this has both defensive structures for the castle here in Paris. Okay, so when thinking about here's the thing, is that if I were to retreat, if I were to be attacked right here in Ile-de-France and I was to retreat to my castle, then this castle would fill to the brim to its maximum capacity of whatever. It's kind of random, I think. And then that would only last for 2 turns. At maximum capacity, no matter what tier of settlement, fortification that you have 2 turns before your people starve out at maximum capacity. Okay, well then how do you design a garrison size that is less than that holds out for longer or long enough to force the enemy into attacking you so that you can get like a defensive siege battle? Well, in my Egypt campaign, I was experimenting with using half-size garrisons. And this is tricky because this changes depending on the size of the fortification. Castles, citadels, fortresses, the number gets higher. So obviously you can have more men, in your garrisons, or even in your half-strength garrisons, you can have more men and cavalry in those. So you have to kind of change as it grows, it's a lot of work. It actually is a lot of work to kind of figure things out and how to, construct what appears to be a decent fighting force for as little men as possible. And the thing is that even with a half strength, I feel like in the times that I saw this, I wasn't attacked very often, even when I had completely depleted, I had very small garrisons in all my frontier provinces playing as Egypt. I feel like the only place I was getting attacked was down here by the Almohads, maybe. Yeah, I was not getting attacked very often. It was really weird. I was completely out of nothing. I was begging to be attacked. I was like, come on, give me a fight. And yeah, no one was fighting me up here. And so I didn't have many opportunities to look at this really, but I feel like based on my memory that even with my half strength garrisons, I only got myself an additional turn left to my holdout period for my fortifications. That was it. So went from 2 turns to 3 turns. It's oh, okay, cool. I hope that's enough to make the enemy want to fight me. It's tough. It's really tough. And I think that the Muslim factions have a couple, when it comes to the unit rosters, they have some pretty neat units that they can use for these things. Like their naphtha throwers, their units that throw grenades. That's a 12-man unit, I think. And then their Hashishin, that's their battlefield ninja unit. It's another, I think, 12-man unit, I think. So you can kind of get these really elite small squads that can really pack a punch for their low number. And that's cool. They can kind of do that with the Muslim factions, but you can't do that with the Catholic factions. They don't have access to either of those 2 units. They don't have, nope. The Byzantines have the Napthas, but they don't have the Hashishin, of course. And the Catholic factions don't have either of those 2 units. The organ guns is a thing that can be used, and that's cool. Using organ guns as a defensive piece in these defensive siege battles is a really neat thing because you can put it, they're very short range. You can put them right in front of a breach area, like a gate. And yeah, they're cool because they can, if they get a shot off, they will just delete an entire unit. They're really, really fun. And if anything, if you want to continue watching this campaign, then watch it for the organ guns because I will be trying to build up to late era armies at some point using some form of pike and shot. But I probably want to keep my longbows just because I want some English flavor to my late game armies. And then yeah, stay for the organ guns or just watch my Egypt campaign. I'm pretty sure I got some organ gunplay in my Egypt campaign and my Danish campaign. Those are fun. It's fun to use kind of the artillery pieces in the late game armies. But yeah, it's trying to design those garrisons that, you know, kind of like how long do you have to be able to hold out for the enemy AI to decide to attack you? That's something that I still have yet to experiment more with. And if you have more experience with this type of stuff, I would love to hear about your thoughts and ideas on this. I'm pretty sure that there are a handful of you that have tried this style, and I would love to hear about your if you have any specific composition ideas for garrisons and strategies and whatnot, and just your thoughts on how small the garrison has to be to kind of get the AI to attack you. I would love to hear it. So I would love to hear. I really would. It'd be really fun to try to have that, and then the idea would be have like just a couple of standing armies, and that's not realistic. I get it. That's not like, you wouldn't have that historically. But the problem is that you can't, because you can only train a unit per turn per province. It takes time to build armies in these games, in the early Total War games. I think that's something that was improved upon in later Total War games, where you can actually, really get an army together a bit faster. So instead of taking years, I get it. I get that it takes time to muster armies historically. I understand that. But, each turn in this game is a year. So like it shouldn't, take a decade. That's ridiculous. Like 6 months. So like, a turn. I know other Total War games do like 6 months per turn. I think Rome does that. Stuff like that. That's like more, you should be able to get an entire army together in 6 months, right? So since that can't quite be replicated in this game, I would imagine that just having a couple of standing armies and then placing them not in my frontier provinces, but placing them somewhere, I don't know, Brittany, Normandy, maybe even England itself, just to say, hey, these are my forces at home, and if there's issues, they need to actually sail somewhere and go somewhere to go do. Although I've really nice navies, so I can just sail anywhere too. So anyway, that's my long preamble for like what my goals are for this campaign. That being trying to figure out the garrison stuff, while also building up cool late game armies. Still, I'm going to continue to work on that, and seeing how agents work. Just want to continue to gather data in this regard. Like I'm looking at these places, and this is hard too because I'm looking at this. I was looking at Navarre, and I was like, all right, sweet. There's 96% zeal here, so my Inquisitor's doing some work here. 200% loyalty. There's a lot of Spanish dudes here, so it makes sense. And I was trying to find the governor, Lord de Luna, and I have vision on every single Spanish province and every army, and I was looking through, and I spent like over 5 minutes on this, maybe 10. I don't know. I went over each of these armies twice at least, and I could not find Governor de Luna. I just couldn't find him. I'm looking at, so these little, that's how you know that someone's a governor, right? Duke of Portugal. Yeah, sure. Cool. Yep. No one here. No one here. No one here. Couple governors. Got Egypt. And no governors here. We have Morocco, Tunisia. Cordoba. No governors in that stack. Valencia, Granada. No governors in this stack. Castile, Cyrenacia, Leon, and yep, no one there, and no one, like, where he's, I've like looked at this over and over and over again. I'm like, I can't find him. And I have vision on every Spanish army that exists, and I can't find a Governor de Luna. So when I'm trying to find out the amount of piety or dread that he has in relation to the 96% Zeal Navarre, I can't find the bugger, you know? So, you know, these things are hard. It's hard to track these things because unlike my territories where I can right click and go, oh, Lord Hastings, where is he? Oh, it takes me right to him. He's nope, not here. Or no, yeah, right. That is him. Lord, yeah, got it. But you can't do that with these other territories. It doesn't take you to them, which is really too bad. It would be nice if that would have been a nice quality of life thing, where if you go, Lord de la Cueva, where is he? So Castile, 95% zeal, 200% loyalty, but they do have a stack there. I do have a spy there as well. But what would be, so 95% zeal, and I'm pretty sure the Castilian governors, I know he's over here somewhere, right? Yeah, so he has 5 dread, so that's a fuck ton of dread. I know that I can reduce his dread using an Inquisitor. So actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. So it's you, right? Yeah. So there's a 0% chance of him succeeding in burning him at the stake, you know, convicting him of heresy. But over consecutive failed trials, he will lose his dread because he's going to be becoming like very, you know, scared of God or whatever, and that dread's going to go away. So that's 50% loyalty that's going to be lost from Castile just by him being tried by Inquisitors over and over again. So there's value in that. Now I can't get spies everywhere, but I can get them in. You're not a governor though, so there's no point in. Well, I can make him lose loyalty by spying on him, so I may as well. Yeah, again, just by spying on him. I don't have to, you know, succeed in finding anything out about him. I just have to spy on him. And I can do that. And let's see, is there anyone else here? Yeah, there's no one here that's worth inquisiting. So I'm not going to do that here. And you, again, yeah, I may as well spy on you because, again, I can make you lose loyalty. No governors here. No governors here. And then you are a governor, Duke of Portugal. So I may as well, you have 3 dread. So yeah, I may as well try him. 8% chance actually. So he actually might, there's a small chance he might actually get burned at the stake. And then also let's spy on him as well. No point in trying him for heresy. No one here, no one here. And then, are you even the leader? So you're not the leader of the stack. So unfortunately, this Duke of Egypt, he wouldn't be tried. It would be you, and you're not a governor. If I had a spy here, see, I should get a spy to Cyrenacia. Can I do that? Is there a port here? There's not. And there is a border fort here in Tunisia, so that's why I don't have a spy here yet. And there's a border fort here in Sinai. Well, I can't get them. There's no border fort in Egypt. All right, let's get these spies down here then. So I have a couple here up in Scotland. So you go there. And then you go also to Egypt, and then you'll come over to Cyrenacia in the next turn. And then you can start spying on him to make him lose loyalty. And then for you as well, also not a governor. So yeah, I can spy on both of those guys with my spy. And then here in Egypt, there's just there's a lot of options here. Where is the So the Duke of Egypt is this guy, correct? Yeah, that's the Duke of Egypt. And this is going to be... So if I used to spy on him, he would be losing loyalty. He has a ton of loyalty, though. I wonder if there's another person that has lower loyalty. There's a better... like a better target for a spy. They're all looking pretty loyal, and that makes sense because the king's influence is insane, so... I may as well just, you know, spy on anyone. I can spy on the same guy that my Inquisitor is inquisiting, and we can just double team him and, yeah, try to go from there. And then I can also bring assassins down, and assassins continue to the same type of work that my spies are. So, like, any place that doesn't have a border fort, bring down an assassin, and again, they can either, you know, kill people, or they can, by failing, but see, the thing is that failed assassins just die. That's the nice thing about Rome. Rome Total War failed assassinations don't always mean that the assassin dies. They might also get away. Whereas in this game, it just means they die. So, yeah, but I am super rich, though. And failed assassinations, I was looking at the vices and virtues like list recently, and it does, there's so many different things. There's like 3 different vices and virtues chains that do branch off of failed assassinations, which is a lot. You know, that's a lot of different variations. And one of them does lead to reduced piety, and I'm trying to remember what the other ones do. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it's worth playing around with, and I should also find someone to be the Chancellor of Exchequer. This title that I have. Actually, let's give it to, I think it's going to be you. Yeah, you're the Duke of Ile-de-France. You only have 2 acumen. So I may as well make a bit more money off of Ile-de-France. Right now we're looking at 660 florins per turn, and there, get him up to a 6-star general, 3 acumen now. And making 712 florins per turn off Ile-de-France. Perfect. And Princess Beatrice, let's see if I can get an alliance with the Spanish. Let's come down here. Offer her hand in marriage. Yeah, try to get them to not attack me. That would be nice. Brittany, now that we can train feudal knights here, let's actually get the last of our economy buildings going. Just so we can, like, you know, top off on that. And mostly working on economy, agents, and then ships and artillery will be my next project as well here in Essex, and probably in Normandy as well. Here we are in the next turn, and this is the kind of thing that can be discovered by our spies. Now, typically I use the spies to just sort of start these vices and virtues chains, you know, these personality traits that turn bad, right? Because they get paranoid, because they know they're being spied on. But in these cases, they can also like uncover these, you know how there's like these secret traits, there's secret blackmailer or secret adulterer. Spies can uncover the ones that are secret and make them public. So blackmailer is a big one because it's -3 loyalty right there. Secret blackmailer means nothing. But once it becomes public, yes, now there's public outrage as the secret vice of one of the nobility is revealed. And yes, he has been caught blackmailing a senior official and fined a large sum. He is most unhappy about this and seeks revenge. -3 loyalty for one of the main general of this stack here in Portugal. So that's significant, I think. Let's come back over. Okay, so I had a spy caught and killed by enemy bodyguards here in Egypt. And that's enemy bodyguards. That's not the border fort because there is no border fort here in Egypt. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, they both got caught. Damn. Okay. Well, there's a lot. The king is there, so I get it. And, you know, everyone else in Spain is there as well. So, yeah, I get it. I probably need to get some higher valor spies to get into Egypt. And, wow, the Spanish are sending a crusade to Volga, Bulgaria? That's like as far away as you can get. And they don't have any boats in the Black Sea or the Sea of Marmara or anywhere in the Eastern Mediterranean except for the Nile coast. Huh. And the Holy Roman Emperor has regretfully declined my marriage proposal. I have a son on the way. Okay. Well, you know what? I did see a Danish princess, and yes, Danish princess. They always see us. They always see us. And if not, where did my emissary go? There you are. Let's see if I can find another princess to... Hey, Sicilians. Do you want to marry any of my sons? I know my eldest. I'm pretty sure my eldest is not here. Prince Edmund, I'm pretty sure that he's married. Oh, he's not. Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to get Prince Edmund married. Okay, yeah. That's a priority. And just like that, the general here, Don Felipe Sanchez, is down to 4 loyalty. Not devastating, but significant. Yeah, that is significant. That's worth the effort. Now that I have finished building the Bell Foundry here in Wessex, this is the tier 1 building for my artillery weapons, and here we go. So yeah, while bells are vital for regulating daily toil and summoning people to prayer in Christian lands, the skills of the bell founder are also useful in more violent ways. The same techniques used to cast bells can be used to make guns, although never in safety, as molten metal is dangerous. So now we can actually hire or build the bombards. And so this is going to be the early gunpowder weapons. Bombards are made of wrought iron hoops and mounted on immobile stands. They are primarily siege weapons and fire stone balls that shatter on impact rather than piercing the target. Although prone to explosions, bombards easily unnerve enemies not used to gunpowder. And this is it's very primitive. I think that it's like after 3 shots, I think you get like 3 shots or something like that are guaranteed. And then every shot after that, the percentage of it exploding goes up. So yeah, they're not very reliable at all. And you should either have lots of them if you plan on using them, or also mixing in some pre-gunpowder artillery units to guarantee that you can get into whatever settlement you're trying to get into. And they're just completely useless for field battles because they cannot pivot. They're completely locked into their stand that does, brace them, I suppose. But it's a really cool model. Hopefully I can give you an opportunity to see them. I don't know, man. I'm not going to be going on any offensive siege battles anytime soon, so this might not be the campaign for them, but I can build a few. They're cheap. 275 florins, 22 support cost, and yeah, I may as well get some going. Why not? Also, just to demonstrate, so this is the Duke of Castile that we have been working on for 2 or 3 turns now with my emissary, my Inquisitor, and he's already gotten devout. And so this is, after a recent interview with the Inquisition, he has taken to spending long hours in prayer and is vociferous in his support for the church. -2 dread, +2 piety. And yeah, it's that piety, which is fine, but the dread's gone down from 5 to 3. And so he's going to be gaining piety. The thing, though, is that my question with Castile then is that, so my Inquisitor is here. It's 97% zeal. I don't have a bishop inside of Castile. This should burn out and then go down to be a very low number, I think, is how that works. So his piety should count for less, and the fact that he's losing dread should cause issues. Currently still at 200%, but yeah, anyway. Just wanted to show you how that works. The Spanish Crusade that is on its way to Volga, Bulgaria is requesting to pass through Palestine, which is super annoying because I have a lot of troops there that are going to get gobbled up by that crusade, but I have to allow it to pass. Yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd go through Arabia, but, why do that when they could go through my lands and get more men? And, yeah, I mean, are they going to get through the Mongols, though? I don't know. Oh, cool. Here comes the Polish. They are back, and they are here in Muscovy. And, oh shit, look at that. 16 regions. are joining the revolt, and then they're attacking 3 of them. So it's 19 in total that they're going to get back? Oh my god. Oh, sweet. Alright, sweet. So the Sicilians have agreed to my marriage proposal, and the Danes as well. So that should mean that 2 of my sons have been married, and not just that one of my sons married twice, hopefully. Okay. Yeah, I'm more interested in what's going on. Yeah, I don't want to... I care more about this. So this is cool. So the Byzantines were just like starting to make some progress, actually, taking Khazar and Kiev and Moldavia and Volhynia and that's it. But then here comes the Poles taking back all of this, including Hungary, which is being occupied by the rebels and the papacy. So that's a little awkward. And then here, yeah, it's going to be Byzantines, Poles, and rebels here in Poland. Yeah, wow, look at that. Look at that. That's so cool. This game's so cool. Yeah, this is awesome. So now, this is awkward because that Spanish crusade that's headed towards Volga, Bulgaria, what happens to it now? Its target is still Volga, Bulgaria. Despite the fact that the Poles are here and they're Catholic. They're not excommunicated, are they? No, they're Catholic. Huh. I mean, they're not going to make it. Despite the fact that they just have hoovered up my own troops. You know, they got 562 men in this army, and they're not going to get past the Mongols. No, they aren't. So, yeah. If they had wanted... See, they should... If they wanted to take out the Egyptians here in Arabia... then these armies could have gone with, right? But they can't march these armies into my territories unless they're going to be merged with the Crusader army. So, yeah, that ain't going to succeed. it's not going to make it very far. This is also very interesting because none of my troops in Palestine have gone over to the Crusade. Zeal's very low. It's at 22%, but none of them? Huh. That is very interesting. I didn't think that the number would be a 0. I thought it'd be low, sure, but 0 is interesting. I am going to keep an eye on that and see how that develops. Oh, wow. Okay, just like that, the very next turn, the Polish are excommunicated. And I wonder... I guess it's because of their conflict against the papacy, like the direct martial conflict that happened because they re-emerged in a province where the papacy was already fighting. That would be my guess. Yeah, unfortunate for the Polish, but still, you know, can't feel too sorry for them. They're looking pretty strong, right? Ooh, okay. Looks like there is a Spanish Civil War happening. Oh my god. Wow, look at that. Yeah. Wow. So there's an Inquisition in Navarre that's starting to spiral out of control. And that's interesting because you see that like Castile is like 97%. Okay, let's go through this. This is in Navarre where Zeal's now diminishing and it's going to be 900 people were killed. Assassin was killed in Egypt. Were both of them caught? Yeah, both of them are caught. There's no border forts down there, so they're just getting caught by agents. Merchant finished, so some more money for me. Got my 3rd son married as well. That feels good. So I just have one more son. I think I have a 4th son that needs to be married now. Oh, that's not good. This is my heir. Prince Edmund is a Sybarite. He enjoys luxury, good food, fine wine, and fairly outrageous displays of wealth take their toll on his fitness. -2 valor. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm trying to get him some front lines experience, but it's not working out. And here we go. This is the Civil War. I feel like I should take credit for this, but I don't know how much I did here. Oh no, this must be from the failed crusade, right? Because the crusade, I saw that they had, it has to be. because I saw that they had used during the end turn, they must have used my boats to like go to Georgia, but then that must have just been the failure and they couldn't retreat from there, and then they just failed. So I think that's what happened. And I didn't lose any troops from my armies in here in Palestine. They're full. They're all full. Wow. So I think this is the new king. Yeah, King Fernando II. The other Spanish king just died. So that's another issue. So there's a failed crusade. There's a succession crisis. He has 3 influence, not like the 9 that his dad had. He's a good commander. 5 stars is pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I don't think that this has anything to do with me. I don't think that I did this, but, you know, hey, it's what I want to see. So they're going to be losing a stack here in Navarre. I'm sure that they will retain Navarre, but losing a stack is nice. And they're going to be losing Castile, Leon, and Portugal outright. So they're going to have to take back those provinces. They're losing Morocco outright as well. And then one stack in Sinai as well. Two stacks, actually. So I can take credit for the fact that some of these stacks probably lost loyalty due to my spies spying on them. Like, I know this one did. And maybe a couple others as well. So I'll take credit for that. Yeah. And how's Navarre doing in regards to its... So 65% zeal. Like, that's not that low, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Castile zeal is at 99%, so that's just going up a little bit more. So that should burn out soon, right? So it has to reach 100% before it like burns out, is how that works, perhaps? Interesting. I wonder, is the Castilian governor still around? Is that you? You're Navarre. Okay. What about the Castilian? You're Granada. You're Sinai. I wonder if the Castilian governor went rebel. And here we have one of the traits chains for surviving assassination attempts. So this is not necessarily the one that I was going for here, because this is going to be increasing his valor. So he's basically like getting really good at defending himself, but he's getting dumber because he's staying awake all night being paranoid. So having survived an assassination attempt by killing the assassin with a cooking spit, he is very keen to practice combat with a wide variety of weapons and kitchen implements, to the detriment of his other duties. So yeah, +1 valor, -1 acumen. So he's going to be losing acumen, but gaining valor. And that's, I think, just kind of the extent to this chain here. So not ideal, not really the one that I was going for, but that's just an example, right? I can continue attempts with my assassins. Again, I have the money for it, so I don't have to worry about, you know, the spending, really. Why do I have a princess here? Oh yeah, I think she was going to talk to the Spanish king. Let's keep trying to talk to him, actually. I don't mind trying to get an alliance with the Spanish. Yeah, maybe they'll be more open to it now that they're kind of facing some difficulties here. This is awesome. These are the kinds of things that I love about this game. The Italians are attacking Leon, which is owned by rebels, so why not? It's lightly held, and the Spanish have not gotten around to taking it back yet, so the Italians are just like, all right, it's mine now. So that's hilarious, and it's awesome. Looks like there is a popular unrest among the Christians, and the excommunication of the ruler might be the main cause of this revolt. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, so excommunication does mean something. And yeah, the Egyptians were taken out. There was a crusade launched in their direction, and they were taken out by the Spanish. So that's them, but you know what that means? Could be another reemergence someday. Yep, could be another reemergence. It looks like the Germans are planning on attacking the Italians as well. What spy do I have? Oh, the spies are here in Saxony. Okay, all right. It is the year 1275, and I just scored 10 points from Homeland alone. That's not counting my, I think I have 2 conquest points, so let's take a peek and see how we're doing here. So yeah, well ahead. And the Germans are the next in line? Yeah, the next closest behind us, yeah, but losing by 29 points. So not much of a threat, really. They're gaining 8 points per counting period, so that's something. Byzantines are looking okay. But the Byzantines are getting stomped by the Poles right now. That's kind of their issue. And I'm taking a whack at seeing if I can cause a Egyptian reemergence in their territory. I moved my bishops up from Greece, where we've moved it to 74% Catholicism, to Nicaea, and it might be worth my time to put more bishops into this as well. I can just keep training them up. In fact, I can just do that here in Tripoli. And yeah, we can see if we can cause a Egyptian reemergence. Perhaps in Syria as well. That's another option, but I don't know. The Mongols are pretty well entrenched here. I have a couple spies hanging out just to see if I can cause any issues, but they haven't achieved anything there. They can start spying on the Mongol Khan and try to raise his, he'll lower the happiness of his province, I guess, but he's not the governor, so that's not going to matter. Do they even have governors? They do, yeah. There's the Duke of Syria right there. So if anything, we should be working on him, but he is not the head of his stack. So yeah, there's not much we can do with the Mongols, really. Yeah, so maybe we can just get a Egyptian reemergence somewhere else. Nicaea, Anatolia, something like that. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can work out there. At this rate, it feels like the pace of this campaign is picking up quite a bit, and it does feel pretty good. I like that I'm getting at least 10 turns done per each episode for the last, again, couple episodes. And I reckon that pace might actually continue to pick up as well. So as, you know, I fight less and less battles for the rest of this campaign, it's just going to be about these, you know, playing the campaign map and really, you know, kind of experimenting with the things that I was experimenting with. And of course, you know, destabilizing the map so that no one can rise up and threaten me. Now the Poles, my goodness, I mean, they just weren't. Look, they're right back to having a quarter of the map. But I don't know. I feel like the reemergence factions oftentimes don't have a very strong lineage. So I wonder if they're going to be around much longer. Then again, I mean, the French have, you know, lasted as well. So the Poles might end up being okay here. But you know what? That's going to be it for this episode, but before I go, I just wanted to say that if you're enjoying these videos and you would like to support the channel, then consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. It all helps immensely. So until next time, this has been Conestep playing Medieval Total War. Thank you very much, and goodbye.